I get to do something that I look forward to doing every year, and that is pruning my fruit trees. Now, I'm doing a little bit late this year. I typically like to do this mid-February or right after the coldest of the winter, but this year it's been so cold and so snowy that this is really the first warming day and everything's starting to melt off. A little bit of background information if you're new to my channel. I have 10 fruit trees here in my backyard. I have 4 pear and 6 peach, and I have to prune them up every year. When I initially moved in here, they were way let go, and my first year, which was 2012, the first year that I pruned them, I ended up not getting any fruit that year because I had to prune everything back really hard. And then last year I did my second pruning, which was in 2013, and things went really well. I didn't get too many pears. This is the only tree that I got pears on, but I ended up getting crazy amounts of peaches, and these are all my peach trees, and I'll kind of take you through so you can see how each of them look. And as you can see, they're kind of just growing like crazy, which is good. But when you prune these, I'll just give you a little example. I'm not going to give you a full tutorial here, but you kind of just want to take back anything that's growing towards the center like this. You want the tree to kind of open up both ways and kind of keep it open in the center. So these trees should kind of be like satellites almost. You want them coming out like that. As you can see, this one got some free rangers over here. But as you can see, this tree, all the stuff that's growing back into the center here, you definitely want to get rid of all that. And then this one's actually doing pretty well. You have a lot growing out here, but these ones that are going in here like this, you got to get rid of all that stuff. So I think you get the idea behind that. Now these pear trees, they tend to just grow straight up like this, and you really have to do a lot to kind of get them to spread out like that. In fact, you can see right here, I cut these all right off the first year that I did this. That was 2012. And as you can see, that created a whole bunch of new growth there, and then a lot of these start coming out. And that's really what you're looking for. You want these trees to be as wide as possible. And the pear trees definitely don't want to do that. And as you can see, they just start growing straight up. So I really need to get rid of some of that. This tree, this is also a pear. This one had some major issues. When we first moved in, this thing was just like a straight stick, and there were tons of pears on it. So I tried securing it to make it kind of stay straight up like this, and it ended up breaking, and it broke off like all the way down here. So this is how much has grown in 2 years. That's how tall the thing is. It's as tall as the rest of the trees. I'll stand beside it so you can see just how freaking tall it is. And it just is an example of how resilient these trees are. So you really can't make too many mistakes when you're pruning. They're going to grow back. You just want to do your best, and every year I do a little bit more to kind of get them the way I want them, and I kind of look at this as an art form, and that's why I really enjoy doing it. I'll show you what I'm going to be using here for tools. This is the same stuff I use every year. These are my Fisker's pruners, and then I have these like loppers here, which I may need to use a little bit for my project here today, but these will definitely come in handy. I'll do a quick walkthrough of all the trees. This is a pear, another pear. This is the only pear that gave me fruit last year, and this one is almost straight up. I need to definitely do some work on that one. Another pear. Here we got a peach. This tree I pruned back right there, like in 2012. And look how tall it is. It's probably 15, 20 feet tall. This tree's got a really good shape. This is a peach. These are all peaches that we're going to go through here. This is the tree that was leaning really hard last year, so I ended up supporting it like that. I might have to move that around a little bit. This one's got really good shape. This one was attacked by the Japanese beetles last year. You probably saw that video. We got a little one out here that is clinging to life. There's no life on this branch, so I might cut that off down here. And this tree has got a pretty good shape. This is also a peach. So 6 peaches, 4 pears. Not too bad for a backyard orchard. I was thinking the best way to do this might be to show you each tree before and then right after I prune it. So we'll look at this one first. This is the first pear tree, and this is the one that broke the first year that we lived here. So here's the before. Here's the end result on the first one. I don't know if you'll be able to tell how much I cut off, but I kind of took it easy on this one since it's the one that kind of broke before. And I let a lot of it kind of grow out the sides here. I didn't want to be too drastic, but you can see how much I did cut off. I mean, you're talking probably 4 or 5 feet, and it's all over the ground out here. So that is tree number 1, and we will move on to the next pear tree, which is this one right here. This one has a decent shape. I did a major cut on this one in 2012, but it's getting a little ridiculous up in the center there, so I'm going to cut a lot of this back and try to thin that out a good bit. Here's the final product of number 2. As you can see, this tree's starting to get a really nice shape. When I moved in, this tree was basically just 2 sticks going straight up, which is why I cut it. And right now it's starting to get a really good curve coming out this way. I got everything coming out. You cut off all the low-lying stuff. You can see how much I cut off this. Some of these are 5 feet long again. and I kind of kept the height to about 10 feet. I didn't want it too much higher than what I could almost reach, and I definitely don't want to be climbing a ladder to get fruit in the future. So over the time, I think this tree is going to turn into something that's really nice, and it's actually starting to get there right now from this angle, as you can see. Now moving behind this tree, this is tree number 3, and as you can see, this one has just had a lot of growth to it, very thick through the center. So I'm going to try to thin this out. This one does already have a pretty good shape to it, so it's just going to be a matter of kind of pruning it back to relieve some of the inside branch areas there. Here's the 3rd tree all finished. As I said on this one, I didn't really do a whole lot of pruning. I cut off a lot of just the chunky sections from the center. You see I made some pretty massive cuts there and just kind of opened this up a little bit to allow some sunlight in. So that tree is still looking pretty good, nice shape, and all these pear trees are starting to do really well. Now the 4th and last pear tree, this is the only one that I got fruit from last year, and as you can see, this thing is growing just like this. I haven't done a whole lot of pruning with this one, so I may have to give up some fruit this year to get this tree into a nice shape, but I'm willing to do that, so we'll do this one next. Here's the final. As you can see, it's getting a little wider. This one's going to take a little while. I can't cut too much, but you can see that instead of it just being these little sticks here, you got a lot of growth coming out this way, which is what I'm looking for, and I'd really like to get this one going up quite a bit too. So that's about, I can touch the top of it standing on the ground, so probably about 8 feet tall. This next one is a peach tree, and this will be the first peach tree we do. This one's just nasty. It is the really tall one. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do with this. I did a big drastic cut when I first moved in, and then this thing just shot right back up, so I think this might not be quite much of a dwarf like the rest of them. So I'm just going to trim this the best I can, and we'll see what this tree turns into over time. That's kind of nice. The sun's starting to come out. You guys are going to think I'm crazy on this tree, but I cut a large part of it off, probably about 8 feet off the top. This thing is only about 8 feet tall now. I just thought it was stupid to have the tree be so big where I can't even reach the peaches, so I'm going to try to tame this down this year. I probably sacrificed what fruit I'm going to get off of it this year, but I'm hoping that I can get this thing kind of back to where it should be. You can see some of the drastic cuts that I made, and this thing's definitely opened up in the center. But that was a big tree, and now it's about the same size as the other ones that I've done. My second peach tree, this is probably the one with the best shape out here. I love the way that it kind of just bows out, so I'm probably just going to cut back some of the inner stuff here and leave most of this as it is, and that should be a pretty easy tree to do. And here it is with a little bit taken out of the center. This is probably my favorite tree out here. It's just perfect shape. I love how wide it is and how open it is. That is a great tree. So that one's done. Next we're going to move on to the one right behind it. This one was attacked last year by the Japanese beetles, and it hasn't really grown that much in the last 2 years, so I'm not really going to do anything to this other than cut off these branches right here because they are just really droopy and they didn't do well last year. They were almost on the ground, so I'm just going to cut these 2 things off here. There you can see they're cut off, and this next tree, this one has good shape too. Unfortunately, this one had some issues with leaning, so I might try to balance this tree out a little bit if I can. Do my best to do that and try to maybe move that post in and keep it straight up. Here's this one all finished up. This one, like the other one I was just at, has great shape again. You can see how much openness there is in the center here. We got a lot of branches coming out this side, a lot off this side. I wasn't able to move that at all because it's frozen in the ground, but I'm going to move that in the spring and maybe try to get this tree up a little bit more. Maybe even put a stake in there to try to keep it up. But this tree was a heavy producer last year, and I got most of my peaches from it, so I'm hoping that happens again this year with what changes I've made to it. This is my second to last tree. I'm not going to make a whole lot of change to this. This one, again, has a pretty good shape to it, so I'm just going to cut out some in the center. And that was a simple cut. That tree is complete. And then again, another simple cut. I'm just going to take this off right here. This is completely dead. Nothing ever grows in this. And then this is what's alive on this little tree here. It's clinging for life, and I hope I can get it grown into a huge peach tree someday. There you have it. That tree should do pretty well now. I'm all done pruning my peach trees for 2014. I step back here so you can get a good wide look at them and all the carnage of all the branches that came off. We'll walk up through so you can see everything real good. These trees are doing really well. I'm hoping this one recovers from last year. This tree is great, just need to get it to stand up on its own. This tree, one of the best ones. This one, just out of control with its growth. I'm thinking this is gonna have a lot of shoots this year because of how much I pruned it back, but we'll have to see. Then you move into the pear trees from the peaches. And this tree, I did what I could, and that produced last year, so I'm hoping it does this year. This one looking really nice. This one's getting there. And this one's recovered really well after being broken in half 2 years ago. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you made it to this part of the video, you're definitely a true fan and dedicated, because this is kind of boring stuff, but like I mentioned, I like to document this each year for my own records to know when I did the trees and how they looked when I pruned them. So I'm really happy to have this online. I'm happy to share it with you, and if you have any pruning questions, maybe I can help you out, but there's a lot of resources here on YouTube that you can learn how to prune your trees if you happen to have some like this. And if you don't, plant some, because it's nice having peaches and pears growing in your backyard.